in getting them set up for the Go Team meeting. Hey. Oh, okay. Stream started.
I think everything's at work today. It was just slow today.
Huh.
So I'm like,
I mean, thankfully here so far.
3 backup plans.
Oh.
That's what I do.
Oh, this like at the head of the chicken. Oh, no, I'm like right there. I'm not that important. You want me to just tell him? Yes. If there's any way that I can still be updated on everything.
You should probably email it out too, because I think everything that changed from last week until this week, and she emailed out something this morning. Reminders this morning, and then, let's see what. Just make sure everybody gets my training. Yeah, she just sent out this morning.
All right, I'll check that one first.
Okay. You're welcome. Have a good one. You too.
Thanks. Chloe. Do you know Penelope, my other daughter from Frisbee? I do. Okay, yeah.
Good afternoon. Good, how are you all? I'm also on the rice plays for both teams.
Yes.
And they just don't get roll. Yeah. For real? There's more almost.
And I see. In the house. Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. That's already setting up something for literally.
Something about the New Year, she just talked about.
Hello.
So.
Yeah. I will help you. Yes.
I know we just have to put the policy together. For the, that goes through the budget process. So then I'll just. How the budget is developed.
That's what I'm asking. Overview, example, this year.
Yeah.
Which is 6.4 million. Right size.
And then they'll ask questions. Hello. I'm doing.
My name before, right? That's right.
Yes.
Multiple times.
Yes.
How you been?
Let's say glad you're here. Really glad you're here. Okay. All right. We're just doing this. I got this.
I just sat there for my plane at lunch. Because it's right. I sent you the presentation. I shared it.
I guess I'm.
Most shy.
Yeah, right.
I didn't. 'Cause I have to look.
Hello.
Yes.
I'll just- We're just gonna do both. But I always stumble on it. So but we have veterans here too. Diane, will jump in. Okay. I'm Alex.
Not a crazy person, no, that's only crazy people don't ask the question.
Right. And you won't learn. That's right. Like, have the camera up there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we're trying What we did is this. So that the camera would have been, the camera would be up here and got an omnidirectional light from you to my next.
That sounds nice. Maybe.
And the iPad.
So yeah, I touch on it. I'm not the person that actually comes up with it. But they roll me drive. I'll touch on it. So I think
Yeah. And Sarah's been through the page, that power vision page. You can see how they have it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to work with construction teams, his budget. And this is the first year. That we wait So that's why I like it.
You need. Where's in the last minute?
Yeah. We're just trying to get everybody.
Okay.
Ready? Figure with it.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midtown High School Go Team meeting, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Go Team. Only members of the team may participate in discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For members of the Go Team, please identify yourself when you speak. I am pleased to call this meeting of the Midtown High School Go Team to order at 4:06 p.m. Our first order of business is to call the roll. The secretary, interim secretary, will now take the roll.
Dr. Bachman? Here. I'm Jennifer Keenan here. Tracy Naylor, absent. Nikki Rafferty. Here. Claire Barksdale.
Here.
Artist Stanton. Stanton, thank you. Stacy Tanner. Luna Montgomery.
Is Will Gina.
Will Gina, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Kyla Posey. Here. Nadia Rivera. Here. Desiree Mohammed. And Chloe Walker.
Here. This team will only be able to take official action if the quorum is present. And the secretary, is there a quorum present?
Yes.
All right. All right, our first order of business is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you. Copies are here. Are there any changes to this agenda? Yes. Yes. Any changes? All right, may I have a motion to approve the agenda? A second? A second. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All All opposed, please say nay. Any absentations, please say abstain. Okay, we were,
I'm sorry, when you make a motion or second, please say your name, because I'm writing it down, and I'm not looking up. Thank you.
all right. We will review and approve the meeting minutes for our last meeting. The minutes have been provided to you. Are there any corrections? I know there was a correction for Mr. Staten's name. If there are no further corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes?
And yeah, please say your name.
Oh, do I put my name spelled wrong on there? At that point?
Yeah,
Okay.
just tell me, we'll correct it.
Okay, my name's spelled wrong. It just needs another L.
Now there are no further corrections. May I have a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes?
Motion to approve by Stacy Karen.
Second,
Second, Vicky Rafferty.
and all in favor, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. Any absentations, please say abstain.
No.
Okay. We will now move to the discussion items on our agenda. Okay, first discussion item is the overview of budget allocations, and here's the PowerPoint up front. There are the norms for these budget meetings. Only members of the GO team may participate in any discussion. We will follow the agenda as noticed. We invite and welcome contribution from every member and listen to each other. We will respect all ideas and assume good intentions. Here is the development process. Data review, strategic plan review, which we've done. Budget parameters, which are strategic priorities, which we identified, and then budget choices. So here are our steps. Here's our initial allocation. Budget allocation. Principal's role, then the GO team's role, focus on the big picture, ensure that the budget is aligned to the school's mission and vision. And then I included the strategic plan, it's all there for you. Okay, and then we had our strategic priority rankings from the last time. I highlighted them in the staple packet I gave you. And our first was 9 and then 6, 4 and 6. Okay. Budget parameters. There are the top 3. Provide necessary and salient resources to enhance teaching and learning. Value teacher time by ensuring a sustainable workload and offsetting new responsibility of reduced tasks or increased compensation when possible. Create a collaborative, inclusive, and responsive school culture, embracing the diverse communities that comprise the Midtown family. Those are the 3 that we chose last time. Here's the
Okay,
discussion.
so I want to introduce Courtney Calhoun, who is with our budget office. I asked him to come because there's always questions about budget. And so I wanted him to talk a little bit about how it's developed for Midtown, but for all schools, and how we get to where we are, which is 14,067,000, basically almost, 14, it's $14 million for us this year. So Courtney will talk a little bit about the whole process.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. So every year, well, let me start by this. Enrollment drives school budgets at PPS or Atlanta Public Schools. And we're the only district in the state where we allocate funding for principals to have the autonomy to budget how they see fit to meet their school plan or their educational environment. So with that being said, there are many factors that go into it in addition to student enrollment. So for example, this year, every student, regardless of their special education, gifted, English learners, there's a base per pupil rate of $4,582 per student. Second, We also include additional weights. One of the weights that we provide at high school is the ninth grade weight. That's a transition year from eighth grade to high school. So that weight is 3% of the base. So every high school in the district, ninth graders, based on how many ninth graders you have projected for FY '24, you receive a dollar allotment. Additional weights that goes into the budget, poverty, concentration of poverty. We give a small allotment for English learners. This year, we increased it from 15% to 20%. Special education is a smaller percentage because positions are actually pushed down for special education to the schools. So you have positions, and in addition to those positions, you receive dollar amounts, 5%. Last year's 3%. We take all of that information and we put it into a huge formula. That formula consists of every school in the district. Last year around this time, for student success funding, which is our funding model for Atlanta Public Schools, we pushed down $267 million. This year, it increased by $6.4 million. A net increase of student enrollment by 249 students. This year, the right size of the PIP, RP at elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools for the last 2 years. Because of the pandemic, we held a hold harmless. This year, we're right sizing the ship. That was an additional $3.3 million that went into the plan. Special education increased. Poverty actually decreased across the district. So when we start talking about the difference between last year and this year, we're pushing over about $273 million down to the schools this year through the SSF for student success formula. What does that mean for Midtown High School? This year, 85 students projected more this year than last year. EIP, I believe last year you guys were getting credit for 12 students, somewhere around there. This year, I believe it's like 47, 48 students. So the base for EIP is 40% of the $4,582. So that's how we arrived to that amount. In addition to SSF, you also receive funding for signature, field trips. Each year, transportation gives budget $1 million to push down to the schools to allocate their district funded field trips. This year, we pushed down $1.3 million. So with the cost of transportation going up for field trips, we also pushed down a little more money for transportation to the schools. Our positions, site managers or operations, custodians, operation managers, those are all positions that are pushed down from the district. So it doesn't matter if you close it because you feel that you only need 1 custodian versus 4. You will not see the money to be allocated elsewhere because that's the position that's directly pushed down from the department operations down to the school. Same explanation for special education, your ESOL positions. Media specialists, every school in the district receives 1 for the district. Social workers, every school in the district receives 1 for the district. Nurses, at least 1 nurse. I'm not sure if it's an LPN or RN at Midtown, but you receive at least 1 nurse from the Department of Nursing. I think that covers the earned positions, SSL formula, signature funding. I'm sorry, can't forget about that. Signature funding. That's funds that's pushed down from Dr. Freeman's office to support your STEM program. Last year, the first year that we revised the budget, revised the formula. A few years ago, it didn't matter if you're in high school, middle school, whatever school. If you're phase 1, phase 2, you got the same amount of money, regardless of how many students you have. Last year, we revised it. We provide a base. That base includes, based on the phase that you're in, you receive funding for that position. So whether it's 1 instructional coach or 1.5 instructional coaches, that money is already pushed down through signature. In addition, there's a supplement to include how much more money do you need to support the students. So if you have 1,400 students here, 500 students down the street, no longer do you get the same allotment, although you might be in the same phase, because you get a dollar amount per student that's part of your signature program. So that's a huge change from signature over the last 2 years to this year. Any questions?
What questions do you have?
No way, I didn't explain it that way. I know it's
If Midtown doesn't have questions, then nobody's going. We did get, so we got a 0.5 increase based on the amount. So now we have 2 full-time positions. And then we're going to have, last year we had 1, and we're going to have 2. There's about 15 kids coming from Howard that qualify for that. So we'll have 2 full-time, which is great.
I got one thing. In addition to your general fund budget, which I just went through, there's also a CARES allotment that's separate from general funds. Next school year 23-24 is the last year for CARES 3. It expires June 30, 2024. So this year, you guys will be budgeting for looking at general fund as well as CARES 3.
What are the restrictions for CARES fund, spending CARES fund?
For the most part, you can use, just brought that up. For CARES, for the most part, you can use it the same as you use your general funds. The one stipulation for this year, Larry Wallace, who's over for the programs department, they do not want you to add additional positions. So we currently have 2 positions in CARES. He would like you to remain those 2 positions, or you can remove those positions and try to convert them back to general funds. with that. So answer your question, textbooks, transportation, teachers, instructional coaches.
What the different schools, CARES money the same, or is it?
Size, poverty rate, and some more attributes that goes to the form, but no, every school is not the same. Did I answer?
And so, Dr. Baca, this might be more questions for you, but do we have a chart or something that would show how the budget, this year's budget compared to last year's, and the FTEs under this year's budget compared to last year's?
So there is a document that shows dollar-wise comparison between FY23. As far as FTEs, you have to probably look at last year's template or last year's budget. But as far as dollars, you'll see the EIP increase versus FY23. So that's that information.
Is it on the APS website or where?
No.
That's the-
So we shared it with all the principals, and from there, we allowed the principals to share.
Okay. Thank you.
So you just want the people from last year?
Oh, no, I was wondering how the FTEs compare,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
I know we have more students, so I'm wondering how many more teachers we're gonna have.
Okay.
But if you don't have that information available, readily available, that's fine.
Other questions for Ruby? And he's always available, so if you have questions, you can send it to me, so. Okay.
Oh, one more question. I know you've mentioned this before, but I'll write it down for the minutes. How much of an increase are we having? If, you know, based on this projected enrollment, is it 70, 50?
Well, our projection last year was 1591, but we're at about 1602 right now. So it's from, I take it from the 1591 of last year.
So that'd be 85.
Almost 100, but it's at 85. 85. Over the projection last year. Okay. All right, so as we go through the summary here, just go through the PowerPoint. The budget represents an investment plan for our schools, students, employees, and the community as a whole. The budget recommendations are tied directly to the school's strategic vision and direction. The proposed budget for the general operations of the school are reflected at, and we have that right there, 14 million. This investment plan for FY '24 accommodates the student population that is projected to be 1676, which is an decrease of 85 students from FY '23. Current population is 1,600. Lots of fluctuation right now. To in, to out, just very transient time right now, January. So this is by function, which is our big buckets right there, how we allocate the money. You have that in front of you. A lot of times we do it in a pie graph, but the pie graph wasn't working quite right. So it was more like a burrito or something. So
Numbers.
yeah, kidney shake or something. So so this is what we're looking at for next year. I don't know anything about like teacher additions or anything like that, because what's really important is what students choose here. So it's hard to say, oh, I need this, I need that. Like we know we'll need a couple of extra biology sections for 9th grade, that kind of thing. But until we crunch all the numbers, and that's what Mr. Benson's doing right now, I can't say exactly what we'll need. It's a challenge because we don't need a whole teacher in every area. It's just a real challenge in high school. Keeping a balance, keeping a class size ratio that's reasonable, you know, and because we can't always add more classes. So just an example, not to panic, I'm just going to an example. There is a limit to how many AP World History classes we can offer. So, you know, I don't have the teacher space to teach 8 of them, you know, it doesn't, so I'm having to be very creative. You also don't want to load teachers down with 3 or 4 preps. That's impossible to do. You know, for instance, to ask Ms. Renner to teach 3 AP Worlds, you know, comparative government, history, all that is doesn't work well on paper or in reality. So again, I won't know exactly what I need. About the CARES Act, you asked about that. One of the things that we are using CARES Act for, I have 1 person on there. Courtney, you said 2, so we need to find out who.
Oh, no, I was just using it as an example.
I'm sorry.
I was just using it as an.
Oh, okay. So we have 1 person on there right now, and we can absorb that person next year. It's not a problem. And on there, we also have put, so our services with Chris 180, we will continue with the 5 days a week. So, but we are paying for 2 days a week, and that's $12,000 per day, so 24,000. So we'll take that out of CARES. It's perfect. I mean, that's what CARES Act is for, things, care money for things like that. So those are a couple of things that we use CARES Act for as well. Still working all that out. Any questions about that? It's a lot, you know, people, it's a lot of money in people. The instruction, that's basically teachers, 10 million there. School administration, no, I do not make $1 million. I would have been in the paper yesterday, the AJC, if that was it, because they were listing all the highest paid public employees in Georgia. So that's all APs, that's me, that's
Non-instructional staff.
right, support staff. Alex right there. I mean, it's a mishmash of a lot of different people. Okay. And again, just another way of the school allocation. Here's our CARES Act money, $279. And we do have an LPN. So, not all of it, but North Carolina's great. So that's our allocation we're working on there. So here's some things that CARES Act you can spend your money on. As you see, technology support, mental and physical health, supplemental learning, professional development, at-risk student populations, continuity of core staff and services. So we're at the first meeting, the Go Team Budget Allocation Meeting. And then we'll have another one. We'll have 2 more in February. I will meet with my associate superintendent, Mr. Brown, to talk about the budget and then how we can support that kind of thing. Cluster planning session, we'll talk about that. I will meet with my cluster principal colleagues next week. We'll talk about things K-12. And then program manager discussions and approvals. We'll talk about signature theme, that kind of thing, how we're supporting signature theme, which is STEAM. Stacy will talk about that in a minute. Go Team feedback meetings before my staffing conference, which is in late February. February 20th is my staffing conference. And that's when I really nail down the people that will be here, anything that we're changing, people that are retiring. We'll post vacancies, although we've already started posting some vacancies now. We're going to have Spanish for sure. Yeah. Maybe in English, maybe, but definitely Spanish. And, AP Environmental, as you know, some of you have AP Environmental, your kids are on ABA. So just some normal transitions, people retiring, people that, leaving, doing other things. Very fortunate to keep people. Nothing is unexpected. So Ms. Holland, our registrar, should be leaving, but we've got somebody really good in place. We'll of course hire another ESOL teacher. So, and that's a really good thing because those positions are heavy, like special ed, heavy paperwork, heavy progress monitoring, heavy testing, heavy reports, that kind of thing. So that's really good to have more than 1.5. Because right now, Ms. Bill Ponder was teaching half English classes, half ESOL. So we don't know about special ed. I hope we get another teacher for special ed. We're implementing a study skills class this year. One of them will certainly be directed towards special ed, kids with special needs. And that needs to be told by a special ed teacher. So, but we don't know how many until we get our allotments, and until we get like the numbers from Howard, the number from Centennial coming over and all that. It's put in a blender and it comes up with a number. It's never enough. So, but that's one of the things Tori was talking about. That's what we're given by the district. The district will say you have 7 special ed teachers, blah, blah, blah. So I do know we'll need 1. My teacher told me that she's leaving. So we will need at least 1 special ed teacher. So yeah. Any questions about that?
Okay, we will now move into the information items. Principal report, I think we just covered that. And then Tina will have the executive committee meeting report. I just kind of put in what you gave me.
Great, thank you. So yeah, we had the executive committee meeting earlier this year or early this month. And each cluster gave an update on some of the key activities that are going on in their cluster, with the goal of kind of sharing best ideas, best practices. On behalf of the Midtown cluster, I reported on our amazing Saturday school, which has just been a huge, tremendous success. And a lot of the clusters were very interested in that. So I think we might be hearing from some of the other schools reaching out to hear about our model for Saturday school, because again, it's been a great success. The other key piece of information that they provided is related to the overcrowded schools update. And this is the information I shared by email. So in February, the APS facilities team is going to submit projections and capacity data to the board. That is for all schools. Then the rest of the steps are focused on, I think it's just the 2 overcrowded high schools. I think it's just Jackson and Midtown, not lower schools, just those 2 high schools. So in March, APS is going to present 2 or 3 scenarios for the 2 overcrowded schools. They're going to present 2 or 3 scenarios to the board, how to address that. Then in April, those 2 or 3 scenarios will be funneled down into one recommendation for how to address the overcrowding at those 2 schools. And then in May, the board will have their first read on that recommendation. And they made it clear at the meeting that the recommendation for those 2 overcrowded schools could include redistricting or rezoning. And then in June, the board will have a second read on the recommendation for the 2 overcrowded schools. And again, that recommendation could include redistricting or rezoning. That's all the information they provided. I don't have any insight or any details on what recommendations they're considering, any details about any thoughts on redistricting or rezoning. None of that was shared. It was just this timeline.
What were the 2 schools again?
Jackson and Midtown.
There's also, Woodson Park is kind of included in these discussions. I'm not exactly, they're overcrowded, Woodson Park. So there's something gonna go, it has to do with kind of KIP, I don't know, there's something about that, but of course it won't necessarily affect us. But, they have said that anything that will be done would not be done for August 2023.
Okay.
Okay, for the STEAM update, right now we are transitioning to like getting a template to send out to partners so that we can build our partnerships with community professional businesses, professionals and businesses. So this week, actually, we'll have KSU and the Georgia Department of Ed is going to come in and we're going to do a workshop with just the STEAM team. We're taking a group of the STEAM team members to the National Arts Education Association conference so that they can get the opportunity to explore art a little bit more deeply, because that's like a very insecure part of the STEAM endorsement for the school. Even though we have a fantastic art department, I don't discredit them at all, but you know, once you get outside the art department, people need a little more support and ideas. And we at APS actually just sent out an email that stated that they will pay for more teachers to get STEM certified, STEM endorsements. So we're going to try to recruit more people for that. Ms. Rivera and I collaborated together and we had a parent meeting. We had the interpreter there and they got introduced to a lot of different technology that's available to them, as well as the STEAM program. We are planning STEAM Carnival for March 30th. I spoke on the phone today with the STEAM truck. So we have a lot of little different things that's gonna happen. STEAM truck, Star Lab from Springdale Park, which is like a portable planetarium. The computer science seismic department from Georgia Tech is gonna come back and help us with that. And I have a connection to Google, so Google is also gonna be here, but we're gonna send out. So it's gonna be like little booths and different things for kids to do. So for the month of January, we've been focusing on Excel academically, so on the income and on the monitors. There have been posts about SMART goals, time management, dual enrollment, and ACCA, I'm sorry, so many acronyms, yeah. And there's actually a dual enrollment meeting on February the 15th at 6 p.m. here in the Media Center if you want your child to be dual enrolled. And we had our first 2 meetings with the student STEAM teams, and they had a lot of fun. So they're going to be like the leaders of the pack, as you say. So they're going to run all of the little stations, because we're going to have a collaborative like connection day with all of the little STEAM ambassadors from the cluster. So it'll be like Morningside, Hope Hill, Howard, so, but our kids will be the leaders. So we've been working on stuff like that. So at the top, that's Ms. Pope. They had a roller coaster project. They had to do like a mathematical equation. And create a roller coaster. So she's like, but she's doing a headset, so she's actually riding a roller coaster. The mask is from the Red Mask, which is by Edgar Allan Poe. So they created a mask. At the Winterfest, we did a green screen. So that's Ms. Rivera in front of the green screen, and then I put the photo on there. And then that's Ms. Rivera with the interpreter and the parent who is actually doing the STEAM challenge during our meeting. So in the middle, you have the pie chart. We had the three top themes for the school were global problem solvers, STEAM innovators of tomorrow, and making space for everyone. That's the staff's vote, and we're gonna push it out to the students to vote. Also, we have this concept of STEAM trunks, and we pushed it out to the staff to see their top 3. So what's happening is the staff will be able to check out a drone cart or a VR headset cart or a podcast cart, so they can do something in their class with their students. And the one big one that everybody wanted was the 3D printer cart. So also, while we're doing this, I spoke with our instructional technology specialist, and we have STEAM themed Thursdays for each month. So this month, she'll be showing them how to use their Chromebook to do like drawing and stuff like that for their STEAM journals. So then next month is they'll be doing something for podcasting, and then in April, they'll be doing Tinkercad, so they'll be learning how to actually use the software for using 3D printing. And that is all.
Good job. That's a lot.
It is.
And, all of this is supported by a grant that we talked about before that we got just throughout the year, and our foundation is providing support. Our general fund for this year provides support. PTSO provides support. This is very expensive, as you can imagine, the training. And teachers are now, well, tomorrow, they're really talking to their teams about what kind of things do they think that they need, like what does the social studies team think they need as far as STEAM and professional learning, anything like that.
Also, I'd like to do a shameless plug for the project that the ELA department just finished. It's called Paint Like a Romantic. So they went through the whole unit, learned about transcendentalism, romanticism, and American Gothic, which they love, dark romanticism. And so they painted a portrait based on the theme, and it's actually going to be on display in the exhibit hall down in the Murray Auditorium for the rest of this week. And the AP students actually, the AP art students actually put the presentation of the gallery. They set up the gallery for that.
Okay, any questions for that stuff? At this time, we'll allow for public comment. If you want to make public comment, you have 2 minutes. The Go team will not engage in conversation, but we will take down the information that you share. Any public comment? Okay. Anybody raise their hand? Okay. All right.
Just go back to this, sorry, back to the budget for a minute. Just if you look through all this material, but the budget parameters, they have this.
Well, no, it's in the presentation.
Okay. Is it in there right now? Should we jump back to it? Just want to.
Oh, no, it's in this one. Sure. And then I'll send them. There's our three
So,
highest.
these are some of, these are the things that we're looking at, will kind of guide our process. Just right, I mean, Ms. Parks there went through it verbally, but I just want to call your attention to that. This is what we're looking for. How we allocate money.
These were the top three that we chose last meeting.
Did you also have that summary of how you earned your SSF dollars from the presentation? Did you drop that in?
Yeah, it's a, what's a little bit about
Are you talking, it was on the little,
Oh, the one, the 10, 20, 70%, that part?
no, the one where it's actually, where you put your school, it gives your projected enrollment, it tells you what your base is, and then it tells you how many students you're projected to have in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys are looking for that?
One question,
Okay.
and I don't know who can answer. Videos on high school capacity are not working on the FMP page. Would Midtown Go Team ask how stakeholders can access, please?
Yeah, we'll look into that.
We'll note it, thank you. We will note it, thank you.
This is what. Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. All right.
Wait, got it.
Just go to the, allocation. Can you go up to? Yeah. So you can see that's what Courtney was talking about, how things are broken down for us here at Midtown. Enrollment 502 in 9th grade. So we have 335 kids projected to have it fall into the poverty. So you're getting a little bit of money for that, the concentration of poverty. Yeah, the REP, which is something about special ed. We get a supplement, we get a allotment for gifted. incoming performance, that's basically your ninth graders, how they scored in early seventh grade.
And then just keep, because we had asked for all, yeah, for like the title funds.
I don't have time.
But there's the field trip. And then the next one, I think, is CARES.
No, Karen's coming up.
So Dr. Bachman, on this one, it says 35,000 transportation. So is field trip transportation different than what's on here?
So we will add more. This is what you have is really preliminary. So what I've done is added, as I said, I've asked the teachers. Tomorrow we'll talk about what they want for next year, what they see for next year, and then we'll adjust that. That's what the district gives.
Okay,
The
so
district gives us
I understand.
in the budget. So in that 14 million is the transportation money. We add more to it. The summer bridge, that's for ninth graders, rising night, things that we might do with them over the summer, but also in planning for, say, the study skills class. If ninth graders are going to be in that, we would buy materials, do that kind of thing. A lot of schools do like a week-long orientation for rising ninth. We tried that a few years ago. It just didn't have, it wasn't worth the effort that was put into it. We just didn't get that many kids. You know, we start school so early. Rarely do people want to come earlier. So, you know, so we'll roll that into the ninth graders. The district funded stipends, that's everything from athletic coaches to department chairs. Yeah, anything. Quiz bowl, journalism, yearbook, and the teachers that take that along, they get a very small stipend for that.
And I know that, like Courtney mentioned, that APS is the only one that kind of funds the schools this way, but the part that he forgot to mention is that part of this is because of the charter system. Because if you look at state law is very prescriptive as to how funds come into a district and then get distributed out to schools. And most districts do it based off of a more resource kind of model. Oh, you have 100 students, there's 25 kids in the class, you get 4 teachers. APS does it where they entrust the principals to work with their community to, figure out what resources the school needs. So, and that's where you guys come in to be so important in understanding that this is how it's allocated. And yes, there are some guardrails and guidelines in spending, but you do have a lot more flexibility than most other school districts do in how you spend that allocation. It's not a free-for-all, but you do have a little bit more leeway, which is why that strategic planning is so important to kind of know, oh, these are our highest priorities. But to help you understand, all the work you've done to now is to have this discussion. Money makes the world go round, right?
So that green tab, not to click on it, the green tab is where I work with staffing, all the people that come here every day, all of them, making sure we're covered there.
Okay, I just have a quick question. How is the concentration of poverty determined? How is that? How do you get that? How do you look at that?
What's important is families that qualify for governmental assistance. And it's called Direct Certify, which is really students whose families qualify for food stamps, that kind of thing, for government assistance. It's gotten very strict or very tight as to how you get that. So,
Do they use the lunch, free lunch type thing at all in that, or?
no.
And part of that is because with free reduced lunch, they have the community program where everybody in the school would qualify, but maybe not everybody qualified for that direct certification. And that's a state level decision. And most states are going that way to define poverty because that's a harder threshold to meet than to qualify for free and reduced lunch. So it's not just a Georgia thing, it's, but. Yes.
Does anyone have any announcements? I will say our next meeting is February 13th. Anything else?
I have another question in the chat. Do we have dates for March on the FNP Midtown Capacity Engagement?
You'll find that information. Put it on the website.
No.
No, we don't have it. No.
Yeah, I don't even know what the public meeting is scheduled at this point. Don't even know what the public meeting is scheduled at this point.
We've reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. Meeting adjourned at 4:54.
If you guys can just make sure that these allocations and the CARES allocations you got are in the, because I think, yeah,
Are in the, but
are in the presentation, in PowerPoint, so that the community can see. Okay. Yeah, here's. But that helps, that helps people understand sometimes too, it's like, oh, wait a second, we suddenly got